and so he had got one, and then so he'd seen my name before and that sort of thing. So and he's worked with like a lot of Mississauga bands, right? So he knows that, and so it's just interesting. Again, with the connections, right?
Yeah, it is interesting. So is that where you also did your EP at, or?
I did my single at that studio. I did my EP at another place. Yeah, it didn't kind of work out the way that we wanted. I mean, we worked well together when we were working on it, but then just some things kind of clashed creatively, maybe, or just like business wise, or like just vision wise as well. Like he had a different vision.
I think it's superstar syndrome.
Well, I mean,
that's what I call it.
Yeah,
that's a thing for sure.
Like
everyone has that, so
the ego comes out sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
A little bit too much. I mean,
yeah, it's even rougher when I've experienced it. I know friends who've experienced it, where you could even be paying someone who's like a sound engineer or a producer or something, and they kind of just start trying to take over the project. Yeah. Maybe even if they, without knowing it, perhaps, or maybe
exactly
very well knowing it. Yeah. And it's like, come on, I'm paying you to record my shit. Like, that's how this whole interaction is supposed to be going.
Yeah.
I'm your boss. I'm hiring you. Like,
yeah.
You
work for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll happily take your suggestions if I'm a reasonable person, but like I say what goes. You know, and that's it sucks.
Or you kind of have to set like an agreement in stone at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so my first 2 songs I recorded was with that same producer at that studio. I'll not give names, just be nice. Yeah, I just had I called them demos. I did not want to work there anymore, so I had to wait even longer to get my EP, produced. But it was worth it because now the final product is amazing and we're all on good terms, and it was worth the wait.
Yeah. Nice.
I did waste money recording, and it was a lot of money, those 2 tracks.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do my whole album there because it's like, as a human being, I'm not going to do that. Like, it was just a very negative, toxic experience. And you know what? Shit happens, right? You just need to find your own fit with the people that you can work with and not just do it just to get it over with, right?
Yeah, it's good that you showed that patience.
Yeah.
Because it would come through on the music.
And the delivery of the songs, I was even more comfortable singing in studio, and I got to have a say in the mixing part, so it was just like a real project.
Yeah,
cool.
A real teamwork.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
I mean, everything's just a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
You didn't necessarily fail. You just learned something new, or like, oh, well, won't do that next time,
Yeah, you gotta have those, or else you never learn anything.
Exactly. And so being a musician is definitely, as I'm sure you're aware, it helps, and you'll learn a lot.
You run into a lot of brick walls. They're to face at first, but then you gotta just, remember where that brick wall is for next time.
Yeah. Or figure out a way to tear it down,
Yeah, that too. That could be it. Yeah, it's really it's an interestingly intimate kind of thing where you're looking for the people to work when they're working on production with you, and then finding the space, the studio, and the place that you're going to go to every day to work in and record, and the whole environment of it. It's like all that shit. It sounds so hippie and like classic artists would say shit like this, but it rings true because that's like so much of your inner state and your inner emotion, that's what's being communicated with music, I think. Yeah. So you want to have whatever it is, the vibe that you're going for, you want to have that kind of all around, even in the physical environment you're in, and with the people you're surrounded with. Just all that continuity just kind of, feeds into the project.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I'm doing less of the studio work now. Like, I'm doing kind of just different conventional stuff, where I'm hiring musicians, and they have their own studio, so they record their stuff, and then so I'm kind of piecing things together from my work area, and then sending it off to a hip hop producer, and then he's making it more hip hop, right? Mm-hmm. And but it's all from where I work, and then I record the demos. And do all that sort of thing. So once basically I have almost a full song, and like the demos for me are recorded, then I'll bring it into the studio and basically like, here's what I have. You know, I'm not really relying on anybody to like make me a beat or that sort of thing. It's just very, because I feel like a lot of rappers do that, right? They just want someone to make them a beat, or they buy a beat or something, and it's very, again, detached from like the whole process. Wherein like I want to be part of the whole process, so just coordinating all those people, you know, is something I've never done before, and it's a lot of fun. It's very different, right? Yeah.
Well, it's like being in a band.
Basically,
right?
yeah.
Like you're working with other people. It's like a back and forth exchange.
Yeah.
But you're just in several different bands.
Yeah.
If you're making tracks with different musicians, right?
And they all have their own side projects, and like, or like not even side projects. It's like this is more of a side project for them, and like this is my main project, but this is the side project for them. And of course, I pay them too, right? Like, you know, I pay them for their time, and their services,
Which is nice too, because at the end of the day, they're getting paid for doing something that they like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's a nice gesture in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool, the interconnected, different reciprocal relationships that happen with the music scene.
Yeah.
And then having those kind of good relationships is only going to bode well, because then who knows when there's a time when you need a favor and they're like, yeah, you're good shit, you know, or just like they'll vouch for you, or at the very least, it's like, that's just great.
Yeah.
And people love getting paid for doing shit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Especially
sure.
something they like to do.
Yeah, it's just, that's the most amazing thing ever. It's
Yeah.
crazy that anyone gets to do that.
Yeah, no, right? You get to maybe at least have some of an income off of what you've spent
I'm still
years.
waiting to get paid for
Yeah,
singing
so
and
am
producing.
I.
One day.
Yeah.
It'll all come back one day.
Yeah, well, it's like every day you put, even when you guys talk about just listening to podcasts and getting tips from pros, it's like those are just throwing the pennies in the piggy bank, you know, just those little investments in yourself every day. And it just it will pay off. It's like what every successful person says to do. Just keep just fucking grinding away at it.
Yeah, you put your money, your time, right? And eventually something will happen. I mean, if you think about it, like with all the rough shit that we've had happen to us over the past little while, you know, it's easy to dwell on all that negativity where it's just like, man, fuck today, you know, like, and we were very much like that when we showed up at Perth Andover, because we're like, fuck this, like,
I was so sick too. It might be so gross. I had phlegm coming out of my eyeballs. Like I have this virus that's like it's finally like going away.
Yeah.
And I've seen 2 doctors in Toronto. They did shit. They did not help me. And then I think we're blessed because in the morning when we woke up from the motel at wherever we were, middle buttfuck nowhere, there was a clinic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we went there and the guy gave me some really good cough syrup.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And
I took a bit too much. It felt so good. I told them, I'm like, I don't just have a sore throat. I'm in chronic pain.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was so raspy.
Yeah.
I'm still a bit now, but it was worse. Like I was like, I can't even talk. Aaron was probably scared that I lost my voice completely.
Yeah, no, it was.
There goes my dreams.
Nerve-wracking. And like, I'm making. At that point, I was making like Mel sipping on syrup jokes, you know. But yeah, no, it's super easy to like dwell on those moments, right? But then like you just look at where we've come so far, right? Like where we were like a year ago, right? Mel didn't have her CD out. I just put out mine. I was like just kind of amping up shows, you know, very little fan base, very inexperienced, and then now it's like, okay, well, we're in Halifax right now, so that's pretty cool. And you know, as much as we've had to deal with so much shit within the past 2 days, it's like we're in Halifax and we're about to do a show that on Facebook has more than 100 people interested.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah.
And you got a Friday night show, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, we're really excited. So, you know, just excited to be here and you know, it's just an adventure, right?
Yeah, what adventure doesn't have those fucking crazy moments of chaos?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm sure you know that. I mean, what, you fucking backpacked across Canada.
Yeah, there was some fucking sketchy moments.
Yeah, when you were telling me when you were in Toronto, oh yeah, that the transport trucks are the easiest to hitchhike with because they have like a set schedule. I think, was it you that was telling me that? You told me that, I think, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I'd only gotten rides from like a couple of transport trucks.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also bad too because they can get some real shit for picking up hitchhikers. Like, none of them are allowed to do it. Like, their companies. Yeah, so like, but this really cool guy he was actually a refugee from the Middle East back in the 80s.
Okay.
So he picked me up, and his name was Sam. I doubt his real name was Sam, but you know, gotta fucking fit in. So, yeah, he picked me up and immediately started complimenting me on my eyes. And so I was like, what did I just get myself into?
Oh my god.
First words of his mouth, like, oh, your eyes are so gorgeous. Oh my god. I'm just like, yeah, thanks.
That's what I want to hear when I step into a strange truck.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to check out to my bunk? But no, he was a sweet guy. He had, fuck man, speaking of moments of chaos, like he had lived through wherever, because the Middle East has just been a shit show for decades, right? And so whatever part, I can't remember where he was from exactly, but those fucking insurgent, like little rebel militias that happen, like ISIS is the latest, was whatever one of those was going on back then, was moving into his little town and just fucking gutting people and decapitating people and all this crazy shit. And he was just telling me with all these stories with such fervor in his voice, just like, he couldn't understand it to this day. He's like, "Why? How could anyone do that? How could anyone do that?" And I'm just like, I don't know. It's crazy. But man, you'll never find someone more grateful to live in Canada. Just so happy to be here. He managed to get his whole family here. It took years to get his whole family over, and they're all together now, living in Ontario. And yeah, he gave me a ride for a couple hours through Ontario. It's just great. Yeah, but I only got picked up by two transport truck drivers. Most of the people that picked me up were like older, middle-aged, established, nice, newer looking car, family, couple kids. Like, I was shocked. I thought it'd be a bunch of people like me, like in a Volkswagen beat up van or something, just like with a few dogs and a bunch of naked people and just like hippies. But it wasn't. It was mostly older people with nice cars that picked me up. I was so surprised.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, we are a friendly country.
Yeah, it's true. I think if anyone wants to fucking backpack a place and hitchhike around, like, Canada is probably one of the best places in the world to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, obviously Europe is classic for that kind of shit too, and I'm sure there's some other places that are good, but I can personally vouch for Canada. It's awesome.
Canada just has, like, such diversity in it, though, too, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, you're in Halifax 1 minute, and, like, you know, it's pretty... Well, right now it's rainy and like just different vibe, and then you end up you're in Ontario, and Ontario's pretty North American, right? And then there's the prairies and the mountains in the west. Like, there's just so much to offer as well, right?
Or if you go to Montreal, you think you landed in Europe, literally.
Yeah,
because that's
Montreal's
a whole new
amazing
vibe too. Yeah. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah, every little place has a little vibe to it. It's crazy. Even just little small towns that are just salt and peppered around the country, they all have a different kind of characteristic to them. It's just, it was amazing. I never would have guessed until I like went and saw so many different places that there was actually so many different places. And the differences are subtle, but just like the random little like drawl in someone's accent in some little town in Saskatchewan versus some other little town in Manitoba or whatever. It's fucking crazy how different we all are. Yeah. But also, like, somehow united under the same flag and have, like, the general same kind of, like, everywhere I went, people were really nice. People treated you like you were a human being that had some value and wanted to talk, and people were happy to talk. And everywhere you go, there's people that are cold and that don't want to engage, but there's still just so many good people in the world. And speaking of detachment, I think that's something else we all forget so much is, like, because we get in our little cars and we're just isolated from everyone else, and everyone else in the grocery store is a stranger, and everyone else in the road and the buildings and skyscrapers is all a stranger, and it's like we're so disconnected from each other. And it's like when I was out there hitchhiking, and just like my fate essentially was just on the whim of whoever the fuck decided to pick me up. And I was never afraid for my life, ever. I was never fucking concerned that the person who picked me up was some sketch bag or something, even though a couple of them might, for all intents and purposes, look that way. Everyone was super nice and courteous and easy to talk to, and had some little bit of wisdom to give me, and and like I said, they're mostly older people that were like well established and they're like later in life in their 40s and 50s and like had a car and a family and